Yo everyone, how's it going? I hope you're doing well and welcome to my new video. So today we're going to be taking a look at Resto Sham in the DragonFlight beta and how it's performing, how it's doing, how it feels to play across both Mythic Plus and Raid. I have tested this quite a bit so far. I've tested various different builds depending on whether it's Mythic Plus or Raid. And to be totally honest with you, I'm having a lot of fun. I am a Resto main in general. But I'm hoping that today gives you a good take on if it's something you might want to pick up in DragonFlight or something that you want to return to as a Resto main as well. So I think it's pretty common knowledge by now that the Resto Sham toolkit is solid, very fun to play with. There's plenty of solutions to problems that you're going to face in Mythic Plus or Raid, whether or not it's burst HPS you need, rot HPS you need, DPS, anything like this. So there's plenty of different builds to maximize these things, which I'll touch upon shortly. I do also want to mention the tier set changes. I think overall these are very positive. So the 2 set giving you the 10% crit chance and the 4-piece giving you the 215% crit from the 200% you usually get. These are definitely noticeable in Raid and Mythic Plus. It equates to something like 4 or 5% of your healing throughput in the end. So I think all in all, we should be pretty happy with these. Fairly boring, you might say, but I think the Blizz were pretty clear that they wanted to keep these things fairly straightforward. But yeah, overall happy about the tier sets there. There could potentially be a couple of issues with how Totemic Inspiration synergizes with whether you pick Healing Stream Totem or Cloudburst Totem, i.e. you because of the cooldown being less on Healing Stream Totem, you naturally get more uptime on that 2-piece and the 4-piece accordingly. But, you know, I think it's pretty minimal considering that when you pick Healing Stream, you tend to drop both totems at the same time to maximize healing at that moment. I think overall these level things out, so I'm not too bothered about those. Okay, so let's jump into a Mythic Plus build that I've been running. This has been performing well. I've been doing it in 12 keys, 15 keys. I'd say the healing is strong in this build, but more importantly, the passive healing is strong, so you can DPS more often. I think I mentioned it before that you've got these synergies within the build that are really fun to the way they react with each other. And I think a good example is if you play Totemic Recall, if you also play the Capstone to reduce it to 2 minutes. So I was actually double stacking Earthen Wall totems with this, which is awesome. Now, considering the Earthen Wall totem is on a minute cooldown and Totemic Recall with the Capstone is on a 2-minute cooldown, every other Earthen Wall, you can double stack it. And this was actually pretty significant. You can see that some packs I was doing, this accounted for 20 to even 30% of my HPS for that particular pack. So I think that's very strong. It's also really strong, I think, and works with a Healing Stream Totem build rather than a Cloudburst Totem build. So this is definitely for those people that don't like Cloudburst. So, you know, if you play Totemic Recall and you play the reduced cooldown of it, every 2 minutes you can drop 3 healing streams, or you can change the Capstone and play the so it recalls the last 2 totems. This was pretty strong actually in situations, so you can drop 4 healing stream totems down at the same time, which then of course will activate the living stream, that each tick is 10% more. Then that reacts with your 2 set and 4 set, and you can get ticks of healing stream for like 20k sometimes. Again, it's situational, and I actually made it work in a 15 key, so it's possible that you could do it. And I think this is a really good build for, as I say, the people that don't like Cloudburst. As you can see, I'm also running Earth Living Weapon, so with the recent buff to 250% increased healing, this is pretty strong actually for both Mythic Plus and Raid, and I'll show you in the Raid in a sec. But with the improved Earth Living Weapon as well, I'd say this accounts for 10 to 12% of my overall healing in Mythic Plus and maybe 5% in Raid. It's passive healing. So this is where it's really important, because in Mythic Plus you want to be doing DPS. Earth Living Weapon really does allow you to do that nicely, and it actually accounts for quite a lot of healing. And of course it procs off of Riptide, Healing, Surge, you know, any of your heals, to be honest. With the improved, it procs on and prioritizes people with lower health, which again is really important for us. So I think overall this is a massive plus. This is a real good change to Earth Living Weapon. I think you'll probably run it, but you don't have to. I did opt to play Surging Shields as well. I thought the increase you get to Earth Shield healing was pretty important to spot heal tanks. Also, of course, in Mythic Plus, if you run Ascendants, you can get the improved Earth Shield talents as well, which are further increasing healing to those targets. I think Resto Sham, perhaps in the past, has not been necessarily known for its spot healing on tanks. This is definitely going to improve that. I didn't really find any issues at all healing tanks as a result of this. Earth Shield getting a charge back as well with improved Earth Shield talents when they're below 75% health is a massive plus for you to not always be recharging it on the tank. I thought this was a great addition. And of course, just in light of doing DPS as much as possible in Mythic Plus, if you pick up Ancestral Guidance, I think all you LE Shams out there will know the power of this one. So it converts 25% of your damage into healing on 3 allies. So considering you're most definitely going to take Stormkeeper in Mythic Plus, you pop this before you crack on with that, and you're going to do a lot of healing as well while you're doing a lot of damage. If you do opt to play Cloudburst Totem, even if you do this when not many people are taking damage, just going to store it and you're going to be able to use it when you need to. So again, this is a really strong build, I think, for Mythic Plus in that sense as well. And of course, you've got Unleash Life, which for me is a default pick, whether it's Mythic Plus or Raid. It's probably a little bit better in Raid, which I'll come on to in a sec as to why. But if you look at how, again, it synergizes with your spells, I think it's really cool. So whether or not it's just increasing your Riptide or healing surges, which you do cast still a lot of healing surges. So if you want to take Flash Floods, you can, to increase your haste on those spells. You can get them down to about 1 second cast. But I think, yeah, spot healing tanks is great with this to get the improved healing on those single targets. But also, I think a really good use case of Unleash Life in Mythic Plus for AoE healing is if you pop this on a tank, for example, and then you Nature Swiftness, get an instant cast Chain Heal out. It does a lot of healing, especially if you've got your Cloudburst out. It's going to absorb any healing, if any overhealing at least, and then you're going to be able to pop that as well when you need it. So I think, again, that's a nice synergy loop that they've made within the build in general. And then, of course, you've got your personals. Obviously, we've got a great defensive, and you can further reduce the cooldown of that. You've got Cap Totem, you know, for stuns. You've got Spirit's Grace. There are a ton of AoE spells in these dungeons where you have to move a lot while you heal. So having Spirit's Grace with its cooldown reduction talent, I think is a massive plus as well. It keeps Shams, you know, being able to cast while we move. And then, you know, if you do want to play Mana Tide Tome, if you do want to play Mana Spring Tome, you can as well. I didn't necessarily feel like Mana was that big a deal before I could drink, but I guess we'll see when it comes to timing higher keys how important that becomes then. And then for me, Gust of Wind coming back was amazing. I play it whether it's Raid or Mythic Plus. I love it. I did try out Spirit Walker's Grace sometimes. That can be useful. But Gust of Wind is just really good to get out of dodgy situations, especially when the swirlies, or again, because there's so many dragons in these dungeons, they do a lot of like fire breath moves, right, with a cone AoE. So Gust of Wind is really good to get out of dodge, really, with those kind of things as well. So movement is really good at the moment too. So then let's take a look at a raid build that I ran. So I've tried many different iterations of a raid build. I have done raid testing on heroic bosses and a few mythic bosses recently. And getting out HPS is pretty key. I mean, this build, I'd say you can get 40 to 50k HPS pretty comfortably as well. So the main differences, of course, are firstly how Unleash Life interacts further, because you are playing Wellspring, you are playing Downpour. I did not feel the need to play Overflowing Shores because of the way Unleash Life works with Healing Rain, but you could, and I'm sure it's going to pump Healing Rain even more. But yeah, Downpour can heal 2 more people with Unleash Life, and Wellspring will make a 25% absorb on any overhealing. So if you combine that, again, I would probably recommend Cloudburst in Raid all the time. But when you synergize all those things together, you can either heal a lot when you need it or store the healing well and then pop it when you need it. And of course, you've got Link, you've got Healing Tide Totem as well. These are major cooldowns for Shams and Raid. They still perform really well too. I did opt to play Primordial Wave. I think with Primal Tide Core, this is a really good combination to spread Riptides out. And don't get me wrong, Riptides are still your #1 heal. So spreading as many out as you can are great. Again, with Earth Living Weapon, Riptide can proc Earth Living Weapon, even if it's been spread by Primal Tide Core. So again, a really good synergy there, and you can just be getting free heals, passive heals as well, and then you can be, you know, helping out with the damage. And of course, Primordial Wave works really well with Healing Wave. So with Primal Tide Core, spreading your Riptides about, I would constantly be Riptiding people for when the damage comes in. You can Primordial Wave, Healing Wave into a massive Healing Wave for the raid. If you do pop Unleashed Life before that, you're going to get even more, well, you're going to get 35% increased effectiveness on that heal as well. So it's definitely worth it. I would always play Cloudburst to make sure that any overhealing is stored ready for when you need it as well. Now, I am playing Wellspring in Raid, so I think Wellspring performs really, really well in Raid. Generally speaking, it's a big heal as well. If you do use Unleash Life with it, it will store any overhealing as an Absorb Shield, but just generally speaking it is. And if you take Nature's Swiftness, when you need a lot of burst healing for the Raid, Nature's Swiftness into a Wellspring, and it's pretty clear as well. And I think, yeah, obviously with the reduction in cooldown for Spirit Walker's Grace, again, there's a lot of swirlies in these raids. You can be casting a lot more on the move, but Nature's Swiftness is a great shout when you can't cast and you need to get out a lot of healing very quickly. And then a final couple of things with the raid is that you can, if you want, play double Earth Shield for both tanks. This can be pretty potent as well. I did check this out. So Earth Shield is actually healing pretty well passively again, and if you play those improved Earth Shield talents, it's going to recharge for them when they're below 75%. Again, a really good synergy, just to maintain healing and help other healers out on those tanks. And then mana wasn't really too much of an issue. I did play Mana Tide Totem and Mana Spring, so every time I was Riptiding or casting Lava Burst, I'd get mana back as well and give mana to others. So yeah, mana not too big an issue as well when you play these combination. So in summary of Resto Sham so far, I've loved playing it. I really enjoy it. I am a Resto main, don't get me wrong, but I think if you wanted to pick it up, just give it a go. I think you're really going to enjoy it. It's very fun. There seems to be an answer for everything in terms of the toolkit. I think it's in a really good place. The changes to the tier set, a few of the buffs that come in with like Earth Living Weapon have made big improvements. I do just want to caveat that this is the beta, right? There's tuning going on every week. Things do change quite considerably. So we'll see how things progress as we go into Dragonflight, and maybe even a month or two into Dragonflight, how Resto Sham looks then. But so far, honestly, having a great time with it, and I totally recommend it if you wanted to pick it up or come back and main it. So yeah, thanks for everyone for watching. I do appreciate it. If you've got any comments or tips and tricks or learnings that you found from testing yourself in the beta, do let me know in the comments. I'd love to test more out myself as well. So thanks again for watching, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.